Hey guys, my name's Peter and I'm going to show you guys the optimal method, in my opinion, for getting Nightmare Zone points. I just died at Calfight Queen twice in a row and lost my Black Mask Imbue, so figured it was a good time to come get some more points. Requirements, there really aren't any. Recommendations are obviously high melee stats, or some other kind of combat stats, really, just being able to do a lot of damage, and high quest points. Even quests that don't unlock bosses, like for example Black Knight's Fortress and Cook's Assistant, they don't give you a boss in Nightmare Zone, but they do still increase the points you get for bosses in Nightmare Zone. So the higher the quest points, the better. The two quests that I would strongly suggest are Desert Treasure, because even though it makes your floors a lot more annoying, it does significantly increase the amount of points that you get because it makes your floors more annoying, and also Dream Mentor because those bosses are pretty easy and they give a ridiculous amount of points. So onto the inventory and gear setup. I've basically got max melee gear on. My ring isn't imbued because again I'm doing KQ, and when you die you lose the imbue, so I'm not going to bother imbuing that till I get the pet. Dragon Fire Shield you can swap it for a defender, and there is an anti-fire shield in there. I just wear this because when Elvarg spawns he drains your stats, and it takes quite a while for your stats to go back up to overload level if he gets enough fire on you, so I prefer to just carry on the DFS. And then the rest of it's just max melee gear. Your defense will not really matter because you're not going to get hit for above a 1, and I will explain that when we get in there. Inventory, Dwarven Rock Cake, Ancient Mace, these two are pretty important. You can do it with the Ancient Mace, but Rock Cake is definitely recommended. You get Ancient Mace from, I believe it's Death to Dorgershin. It's one of those the Goblin quests. I think it's Death to Dorgershin. And you get Dwarven Rock Cake from the Dwarf sub-quest part of RFD. If you finish that, you can go to the place under the White Wolf Mountain between Catherby and Taverley and talk to the guy, and for like 200 coins or something, he'll give you another one. A couple prayer pots, they're not necessary, but they will come in handy because some bosses drain your prayer, and that's not good. Especially if you don't have an Ancient Mace with you, you're going to want to bring a couple prayer pots. You aren't necessarily going to need them, but they are handy just in case. A bunch of overloads, and the rest absorbs. This is only 104k worth of Nightmare Zone points, so if you don't have that, you can just go in with regular food or else prayer pots. But if you have it, just spend it on this. You also need at least 6k coins in your coffer. I've got just over 1 mil, so we're in the clear there. You're going to want to do a hard rumble. You don't want to use a booster for your own points because while boosters do give you easier bosses, they're terrible points because, as I mentioned, higher quest points means better points per boss. And if you go in a team, it goes off the lowest quest points of the member. So basically, if you go in with a booster, it's going off your booster's quest points and not your own. So the bosses that you kill will give significantly less points. Once you get in, you're going to want to eat your rock cake / guzzle your rock cake until you are at 51 health on the dot. Then you're going to eat drink the overload, and then make sure you drink your absorption potions. You have to do that before your rock cake because overloads go through absorptions, but rock cake does not. The reason you want to go down to 1 health is because even though you technically have like an extra 1,000 health here, okay, so this is a Dream Mentor boss, which is pretty nice. Overloads can stack up to 1,000. Each dose is 50 quote unquote HP. So if you go through 5 full pots, you get 1,000 shield. And because my current health is 1, these guys do not hit for above a 1. So right now I'm only missing 3. And if I get hit again, you'll see that it'll go down to 90s. Okay, I got hit like 3 times. Oh, I screwed it up already. Because I was not doing this fast enough. So basically, the next thing I was going to mention is you're going to set your quick prayers up to Piety and Rapid Heal. And then you're going to want to flick your quick prayers every time you attack. The reason you do that is Rapid Heal, while it does make you regen health faster, it also resets the counter for health. So basically, every minute you get 1 health back. But if you hit this at least once a minute, you'll reset the counter when you turn it on, and then when you turn it off, it will reset it again. So you only have to do it once a minute. But if you set it up to your quick prayer and you just flick it, it's a lot faster. And you can flick Piety just because it lets you do more damage, obviously. So I should have mentioned that first, because now I'm at 2 health, so these guys can actually hit me for up to 2 damage. but again, it's like that's not a huge deal because you're still only getting hit for up to 2. If your health goes up to say like 30 or something though, they can hit you for a lot higher, which is why you want to prevent that from happening. So once you get in here, as I mentioned when I saw the inadequacy, not the inadequacy, sorry, the everlasting, I think it was, the Dream Mentor bosses are very good points. A lot of these bosses like are kind of annoying, but they're not too difficult to deal with. For example, Agrith Nar, he just teleported me, but once you get up to him, he doesn't teleport you around and you can kill him pretty quickly. So, I mean, it's not like, there's not strictly better bosses to kill with the exception of the Dream Mentor bosses who give a ridiculous amount of points. Other than that, you can basically just kill whatever ones you can kill conveniently. For example, like Tanglefoot, you need the Secateurs. Dagonoths / Gelatinous Mothers are just a pain, but they don't do that much damage anyways, so I just usually ignore them. But yeah, this is pretty much all there is to it for now, to be honest. You just kind of go off and kill whatever bosses you want. I just get a power-up. I will be talking about the bosses in particular, like specific bosses, right after this. And I'll also be talking about the power-ups. So before I get into that, though, the reason you have prayer pots is there are a couple of bosses that will drain your prayer. And if you get your prayer drained and you don't have an ancient mace, you cannot rapid heal, which will result in your health going up. It only goes up by 1 per minute, like I mentioned before, but that'll add up, and then you'll start getting hit a lot faster, or a lot more often, and for a lot higher. So you obviously don't want that. So it's good to just bring some prayer pots. So if you get hit by one of the bosses that lowers your prayer, you can drink a dose and it'll let you flick rapid heal. If you don't have piety, or if you have low prayer for whatever reason, you might not want to flick piety, but if you just flick it relatively well, it won't make a huge difference in how fast your prayer goes down. And the reason you bring an Ancient Mage over an SGS is because an SGS's spec heals you for both prayer and health, whereas Ancient Mace only heals you for prayer, which is obviously good because if SGS healed you, you'd have to rock cake it back down. Ancient Mace is obviously like less damage and stuff, but it restores your prayer just fine. So basically, you can be pretty wasteful with your prayer, and then whenever you get a Power Surge power up, which I will talk about later, but it gives you basically infinite spec energy. You can just turn on Piety and spam your spec with this, and it'll bring your prayer all the way back up. I think that's it for this part. I'll talk about the bosses in particular and which ones you want to aim for and which ones you want to just ignore. And then I'll talk about the power-ups. Alright, so these are all the bosses you face in Nightmare Zone. I haven't actually done all of them, but I've done most of them, so I can tell you what most of the good ones to do are. These first two are pretty weak. Like, they only have, like 210, 150 health, and they give a decent amount of points. One thing to note, though, is these points are based on somebody that has a quest cape. The points are based off of your quest points, not necessarily how many bosses you have unlocked, just the amount of quest points you have. And also, apparently, Desert Treasure, when you unlock that, it gives a huge jump in the percentage of points that you get, which is why I would strongly suggest having Desert Treasure and Dream Mentor done, which I think I mentioned before, but if not, they're very good for getting points. Witch's Experiment, it's not awful. It gives like one of the least points of any boss, and it takes a while to kill because it's got a bunch of different forms. But it's not a huge deal. This thing over here, it will drain your stats, but if you have an overload, you can just ignore that. Kendall, I've never actually done. I haven't done Mountain Daughter, but I mean, it only has 150 health and gives 9k points, so it's probably not too bad to do. Me, I've done. It's a simple boss. Like, most of these bosses, you can just melee, no problem. Those are the ones you usually want to aim for. So this guy is not a huge deal. Elvarg is somebody you have to kill as soon as possible, because even if you have an anti-dragon shield, which is provided in the arena as it says here, he will drain your prayer. So you want to kill him as fast as possible, because even if you have like your absorptions on your anti-fire shield, anti-fire potions don't help. You will get your prayer drained, but you can kill him pretty quick if you have good gear. Like, he's only got 240 health. He doesn't give a whole lot of points based on how much health he has, but like I said, he's somebody you really have to kill. Moss Giant is not terrible. Like, he doesn't give a whole lot of points. He will hit high if you haven't, if you don't do the method that I mentioned where you rock kick down to 1 and use absorption potions. But he's not a terrible boss to kill. Like, a lot of the bosses have restrictions on what you can kill them with. For example, Slagolith. He's just one that, like, if there's no other good bosses, you just go for him. Slagolith you can melee, but or you can melee with like your regular weapon, but he is weaker to pickaxes. So depending on your stats, might be better to pick up the pickaxe, which is a rune pickaxe that is provided, and then you can kill him a lot faster. But he's not a huge deal. I usually just kill him with my regular weapon. He only has 150 health, doesn't take too long, and he gives a decent amount of points. Nazastral actually takes a really long time because he has like a total of almost 500 health points, and he only gives 6,600 points, which is not very many. So he's like one of the last guys I go up against because he's not really worth the trouble unless there's somebody else or there's nobody else you can kill for a decent amount of points. On a similar vein, Trey's Death, he looks like he's not too bad with only 250 or 240 health, but similar to Haunted Mind, basically every time you hit him, he's going to run away. So, I mean, I would suggest hitting him when possible, so just so that, like, if he's the only boss left, you don't have to chase him around and kill him. Like, if you just hit him while you're focusing on another boss, like, he'll come back, hit him again, he'll run away, and repeat the process, and then he's not too bad, but definitely don't just, like, hunt him down and try to kill him. Skeletal Hellhound is pretty good. 132 health, 8k points. Not much else to say. He's a pretty decent. He doesn't spawn too often in my experience, but he's definitely worth doing. Dagonoth Mother is one that you can usually just ignore because if you're not on normals, you are going to have a pain in the ass trying to kill her. For those of you who don't remember from Warrior for the Deep, she switches to 6 colors that correspond to the elemental spells, melee, and range. So you can just like wait till she's on melee and do it, or else you can pick up the runes that are provided. Because once you have Dagonoth Mother and I think it's Chronozone unlocked, you will get infinite runes, well, pseudo-infinite runes. You can pick up as many runes as you want. And you can kill her that way, but it's a waste of time in my opinion. Like, it's faster to just kill the other bosses to give a decent amount of points. She doesn't even give that many points, she's just a pain in the ass. Egrith Nar, how did I pronounce it? Like Egrith Nar, you basically have to kill him immediately. He doesn't pose a real threat, but he will teleport you around. So he'll teleport you like right next to him, at which point it's better to just kill him, because if you run away to try to kill somebody else, he'll just teleport you back and you'll wind up wasting time. So he doesn't like drain your prayer or anything, but he's definitely somebody that you should try to kill. Tree Spirit, pretty boring, doesn't have a lot of health, gives a decent amount of points, not much else to say. Dad is one of those guys that is pretty important to kill just because he will knock you around a lot, which will disrupt you from killing other bosses. You can't protect melee to prevent it, you can't protect mage to prevent it. He's just going to walk up to you and every so often he'll knock you around, so I would strongly suggest killing him as soon as possible. Tanglefoot is not like too bad, but you have to use magic secateurs, which are provided in the arena, but you'll hit a lot lower with them, obviously, and this health to points is not that great. So I mean, you need to keep in mind that these health is going to take longer to deal because you'll be using magic secateurs as opposed to like a whip or something. Sorry, I'm a little sick right now, but I want to finish this recording. So it's not an awful boss. If you're stuck with like 3 Dagonoth Mothers and Tanglefoot, just kill Tanglefoot, but it's one of the last ones you want to try to kill. Khazard Warlord doesn't give him any points for how much health he has, but he's not difficult by any means. He only takes a couple hits, so you can kill him if you want to, really. Like, if he's there, kill him. If not, don't worry about it. Arg, he ranges you, which isn't really a huge deal, but if you're like, you get up against somebody like Dad or one of the ice bosses, he can be a pain. But I mean, he gives decent points. He's not too tanky, so you might like. He's another boss that's good to kill. Black Knight Titan, on the other hand, is not that great. As you can see, it's the same health and the same health and points as Arg, except his defense is significantly higher. At max stats, it won't make a huge difference, but he can be quite a pain. Ice Troll King is better than either of the other two because he gives more points and he's also less tanky. He's a fine boss. Most of the bosses you'll see, like, there's not a lot that you have to avoid, but there's some that are just priorities and some that are just not worth killing at all. Bouncer is really good. He gives a lot of points and doesn't have nearly as much health as a lot of the other bosses, which is 255. Glod I've never actually faced because I haven't done Grim Tales. Okay, well, apparently he lowers your prayer points, which means that you should probably kill him. He also gives a lot of points for his health, which is decent. I don't know how much of a pain he is to kill, because as I said, I haven't done Grim Tales, but seems like it would be a decent boss to kill. Evil Chicken, definitely good to kill. Very low health, very high points. Magic attacks hit very low, but frequently. They're only going to hit for one, but like they say, they will hit pretty often. But I mean, one damage every like 2.4 seconds isn't a huge deal, anyways. Agrith Nana is similar to Agrith Nar in that he will teleport you right next to him. A lot of these bosses are just duplicates, but all these other ones are coming before the counterparts, I guess. So kill Agrith Nana as soon as you can, because otherwise they'll just teleport you around. Flambeed, you can bring ice gloves if you want to kill this guy, but he's really just a pain. I prefer to just bring Barrow's gloves. If you do bring ice gloves, go ahead and kill him. He gives decent amount of points for his health, but if you don't have ice gloves, attacking him is going to make you drop your weapon, which is going to make it take forever to kill him, so I would just ignore him. Carmel is somebody you have to kill as soon as possible because she will freeze you. She is better to face than Camille because if you protect from mage against her, she will teleport into melee range and proceed to melee you, which isn't nearly as annoying as maging you. Desert you can kill no problem. He doesn't he just jumps around, but if you click him once, even when he teleports around, you'll just keep chasing him. He gives decent amount of points, and he isn't too hard to kill, so I would suggest killing him. Gelatinous Mother is basically the same as Dagonoth Mother. I just ignore them when I get them because they're too much trouble to be bothered with. Kalinomancer is okay. Like, it says here that his hits hit very high, which would be true if you weren't only taking 1 damage anyways. So you can just ignore him if you want, or you can kill him. It doesn't really make a huge deal. Chronozone, again, you need to be on normals to kill this guy because you need to hit all 4 blast spells. You will have the runes if you're there, and if you do have the spells and you're on normals, he is good to kill. He only has 120 health and gives a ton of points. But that being said, if you're not on normals, don't really bother, obviously, because you're not going to be able to kill him. You'll hit him to 0, and then he'll regen all his health. But if you're on normals, you just need to hit him once with each spell, and then you can melee him to death, which is fine. Black Demon, oh my gosh, this has been going on for a long time. Black Demon is good, gives a ton of points, has max health, but a lot of points, like I said, and doesn't have particularly high defense. Giant Rock will knock you back, similar to Dad, so I would strongly suggest killing her as soon as possible. Disuse isn't a huge deal, because if you're only taking 1 damage, his magic attacks aren't that bad. But again, he's not too hard to kill, so like he gives a decent amount of points for his health, so go ahead and kill him. Damus, I would ignore entirely, because while the first form is easy, the second form will drain your prayer on attack, which means, and it drains it like significantly. Like you'll lose your prayer very quickly, and it's not based on the damage dealt, so you'll lose more than just 1 prayer point every attack. So ignore him entirely, in my opinion. His first form is really weak, which might bait you into thinking you can kill the second one, but I wouldn't suggest it at all. Farid is similar to Flambeed. If you don't have ice gloves, ignore him. Camille, you need to kill because he's going to freeze you. And unlike Carmel, if you protect Mage, he will still freeze you. It won't do any damage, obviously, but it will prevent you from moving, and it will also interrupt your attack. So basically, when these guys spawn, him and Carmel, you just put on Protect from Mage and try to kill him as fast as possible. Nezichned, or however you pronounce that, go ahead and kill him. He gives a lot of points, and he's really weak. Barrel Chest, I haven't actually ever faced, but says that he drains prayer, and he has max health, but gives a ridiculous amount of points, so I would go for it. Giant Scarab is somebody that I like to kill a lot because he gives a lot of points, and he only has max health. Only has max health, yeah. Jungle Demon, again, gives a lot of points, max health. Neither of them have particularly high defense, so if you're high stats with Overload, you shouldn't have any problem at all. And these are the Dream Mentor bosses. Save the best for last. These are the 3 best bosses to kill because they all have max health, but they give, as you can see, a ridiculous amount of points. 75k points or 74k points, whatever, is a lot. That's like 1/10 of a ring imbue. More than 1/9 of a ring imbue is probably better. But anyways, these are the bosses you want to kill as much as possible. This guy will reflect some of your damage, and this guy ranges and mages, but like it doesn't matter because you're taking 1 damage anyways. And his damage reflection, I think, is only like I think it'll only hit you for 1 as well if you're absorbed down to 1 health. But yeah, these are the bosses that you're aiming for, and kill them as often and as quickly as possible. Alright, so finally onto the power-ups. The first 2, recurrent damage and Zapper, are pretty similar. Recurrent damage is red, and it makes it so that whenever you attack, you do an extra 75% damage. You don't get experience for it, however, you do get points, which is obviously the point of this guide. So basically pick it up whenever you can. It'll help you clear your floors almost twice as fast, which is really good. Zapper, similarly, you don't get experience, but you do get extra points faster. Also it's purple. It basically just shoots out purple balls to all nearby enemies and does 7 to 8 damage to them. As you can see in the picture there, what it's doing is just shooting at those little things. So basically you want to pick it up and then stand under it, and it will deal damage to hopefully all of your bosses, unless you have some range or mage ones. Power Surge is yellow, and it makes it so you have infinite spec. If you bring an Ancient Mace as suggested, you will be able to spec every single hit. Even though if after the first spec, by the time you attack the second time, it'll only be at 80%. If you click to spec anyways, you'll get the 100% spec on the same tick as the attack, which means that it'll go off, and you can use that to get right up to full prayer, which is really good if you're either running low on prayer because you're not flicking properly, or flicking too much, or you've had a long time without Power Surge, or else you just got your prayer drained. So this is basically how you get all your prayer points back. Ideally, you'll get 1 every 4 power-ups, which should be plenty to keep your prayer up. And also keep in mind that the Ancient Mace can actually heal your prayer above its max level. Basically, if you have like 80 prayer and you hit a 30 and you're at max prayer, you'll go up to 110. It doesn't stack, it will cap at whatever the max hit that you did was. So like if you hit a 30 and then a 25, it'll still only be a 110, but it will let you get your prayer up really high, which is really helpful. Ultimate Force is basically what you want to pick up anytime there aren't any good bosses on the floor. It'll kill the whole floor, including any second or third or fourth forms that the bosses have. You won't get any points or experience for it, obviously, but if you have like 4 Dagonoth Mothers or something, it can save you a lot of a headache. Like I said, if you don't have any good bosses, like if all your bosses give like 8 or 9k points, you might as well just use it and hope that you get something like a Dream Mentor boss or Jungle Demon or whatever. So it's not something you always want to pick up, unlike the other 3 I would suggest always picking up, but this one is more situational, but when it comes at a good time, you're really happy that it does. Anyways, that's pretty much it for the guide. Sorry that middle chunk took so long. I didn't actually expect it to take that long to go through all the bosses, but there are a lot of them. I'm going to throw up a DK's guide in the next couple of days, and I'll probably throw up something else. I'm not sure. I have my vacation coming up, so any videos that I do upload are going to be probably because I've uploaded them unlisted, and I'll make them unlisted. So you guys can see them, but I don't want to spam you guys. I already put out a video today, but I promised somebody else I'd throw up this later today. So anyways, thanks again for watching, and stay tuned for some more content.